seemed like it was just another peaceful NBA night. Preseason is rolling. We had a few games tonight. Everything was going fine. Then I got the news that Anthony Davis was going to be sitting out the Lakers' second preseason game as well as Thursday's preseason game due to lower back tightness. This was said to be out of an abundance of caution because it is the preseason, but the man just said he wanted to play all 82 games. To basically miss the very next game the next day doesn't bode well for that one. I know a lot of fans were probably skeptical in the first place, and that's not really going to do anything to dissuade that. But no, more so than that, we get the news from Shams Charania, Shams himself, that Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green slapped the shit out of Jordan Poole in practice after an altercation. Now, we didn't get much first. The tweet was notoriously Shams vague and insider vague, which has become a really, annoying part of this media coverage is how vague all of this is. So here's the tweet. He said there was a physical altercation at Warriors practice today that has the team considering disciplinary action toward Draymond Green. Story at The Athletic. Click to read more. Now, obviously reading something like that, you're like, what could have happened? These guys just won a title. Shams followed it up a little bit later with this tweet. When a chest-to-chest interaction with guard Jordan Poole escalated, Green forcefully struck Poole and both needed to be separated swiftly, sources said. Again, sources said. Obviously, they're not going to just out their sources because it's too important now, but same link to the same article, same exact basically news as this and the first tweet. And that was it for a while. And obviously, your mind starts racing. You start wondering, okay, what happened? Well, who did what? Did Jordan Poole, piss off Draymond? Did Draymond, big time him? What could have possibly happened? And so everyone was speculating. I kind of immediately figured that it probably had something to do with contracts because both of those guys, Draymond is ready for a contract, preferably of the max variety, any day now. And Jordan Poole is one of the young future cornerstones of the franchise, and he's due to get paid after basically exceeding all expectations the team could have had for him once they drafted him. So they're in a weird spot, and I'm guessing, if Draymond missed a couple shots, maybe Jordan Poole hit a shot in Draymond's face or something and said something about that's why you're not getting paid. Obviously this is all speculation, but that was my first thought. That was my best guess, was Jordan Poole had to have trash talked and Draymond just took it too far because those practices, they can get heated. It's not like NFL practices where there's fights every day, but they can get heated. So that's all it was. It was just a speculation until Chris Haynes dropped it. He goes, Draymond Green was apologetic in the aftermath of the altercation with Jordan Poole, but there was a build-up stemming from teammates noticing a change in Poole's behavior throughout camp, with the guard on the verge of securing a lucrative contract extension, league sources tell Yahoo Sports. This is where it gets really tricky, because the full story has not come out. Full story is probably not going to come out for a little while. I mean, everyone made their Draymond Green podcast jokes that he's probably recording an episode right now about it. But we're not going to know the whole story. But it's important when reading stuff like this to look through the lines, look between the lines. Chris Haynes is a pretty notoriously positive Clutch journalist. He usually has the scoops when they benefit Clutch, make Clutch look good. So this could really easily be a narrative. This could be, hey, Jordan Poole is getting an ego. Draymond Green had to play OG and put him in his place. And that's that. Moving forward, he's going to have to get punished because he did that. But, the whole team respects it because he was the leader. And, that's a very friendly spin. And it's almost like Chris Haynes, was picking up on that because 2 hours later he tweets out, Yahoo sources, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole have a history, but no players for the Golden State Warriors felt the incident was warranted. Some form of disciplinary action is expected. So it's a little bit of a backtrack on that, but also at the same time, it's a lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. We don't know what happened. We don't know what the issue could have been. We don't know what, what do they think is going to be punishment? Like, they're not going to suspend him for opening day in a week and a half. They're not going to, like, make, hey, Draymond, you can't be there for ring night. Like, feels like a lot of lip service to say, yeah, we're going to punish him. This can't happen. But, Jordan Poole was developing an ego, so had to do it. It was inevitable. Fortunately, we had the sage wisdom of the Warriors vet, Andre Iguodala, who took to Twitter to give out these messages. What we not going to do is talk crazy about my young fella JP. Great character kid, missed me with all that other BS, straight from the source, in quotes. Followed up by, and it's family business with my bro Money Green, too. So, basically this all kind of just, like, shows that it's all hearsay, and no one knows anything except probably the team and what happened. Obviously, Draymond Green is a contract guy, is in a contract year. He wants that max deal, even if he hasn't always played up to that level, especially last season. And in the playoffs, where, it looked like he was really, like, limiting the team. Like, obviously, he had a couple really good performances later on in the finals to help swing it for the Warriors. But through the playoffs, up until that point, everyone was like, this is really uncomfortable. Like, Steve Kerr has to stop playing him, because he is like actively hurting this team when he's on the court. And him wanting a max deal over $100 million is, it's a big ask. It's a big ask from a team, even though they're very openly willing to spend money. So there's a weird power dynamic at play here, where Jordan Poole is this young player who just won his first title, is seen as a big part of the team moving forward, is seen as kind of like the new guard that's going to take over. And, if it comes down to it and one player has to get the money and one doesn't, like, that's how this type of stuff happens. That's how chemistry gets ruined between these types of teams. Like, the easiest thing is just pay everybody and run it back. But the NBA, above all, is a business. These teams are businesses. It's not like they're, just actively trying to spend as much money as they can. They're not all out here just trying to spend money. Like, the goal is to win and make as much money as possible. Maybe not even in that order. The one thing I do want to say, because not that it means a whole lot, but for the sake of credibility, I did attend college where I graduated with a couple journalism degrees, and the first rule, day one of any journalism class you take, is you have to establish authority on a subject when you're writing about it, and the way you do that is you cite sources. When I say you cite sources, I don't mean Yahoo sources, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole have a history. Like, no, it was assistant coach so-and-so said Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole. The incident was, like, until there's any type of clarification, which isn't going to come until we hear it probably directly from Draymond on his podcast. And even then, is he the most reliable narrator? Not really. Until we hear anything of any sort of, like, definitive authoritative statement, we're not going to know what happened. And it's all going to be he said, he said. It's going to be maybe Jordan Poole's ego needed to get checked. Maybe Draymond Green was a bit out of line. I don't really think either of those are hard to believe from a narrative standpoint. So I just don't know who wins with this vague style of reporting. Like, I understand you have to get the story out, but, like, do you have to get the story out when there's no story? Like, when the link to the article is just repeats of the tweets kind of stretched out into article length, and your big sources are just sources, the word sources, it just doesn't, it's how these narratives get spun. And now this is going to be the story for this team probably going forward, because the retraction or the correction is never as widely seen as the first thing that's put out about it. That's kind of how narratives are formed. So it was important for Clutch to get out here and spin this narrative and be like, hey, Draymond had to put him in check. Like, he got a bit of an ego. This was boiling over. They've had issues in history before. And that, is their attempt to kind of spin it. Draymond is in a contract year, and they want to get him as much money as they possibly can. And punching out the sixth man on the team is not the best way to get that money. No matter what happens. And those, like, obviously, like I said before, these practices and training camp and everything is probably heated because it is really competitive. You're putting these highly competitive people against each other. All it takes is one wrong thing being said. Like, I've watched people grab their ball and leave a pickup game at a gym. And it's like, that's a pickup game. Like, that's got nowhere near the level of pressure and tension of a of an actual NBA franchise. So all in all of my whole point of talking through this is just don't believe everything you read. There's always reasons for these journalists to come out and say things. There's always reasons for players to want to get out ahead of narratives. Even someone like Andre Iguodala is a really savvy vet. He knows that it's all about keeping the peace on the team. So it's important to make sure that, like, don't take any of this as the truth, as the cold hard facts. We're not going to know, maybe ever, because I don't think anyone's going to just come out and, like, give all of the details. I don't know that Steve Kerr or Steph or anyone is going to want to get involved in this, because at the end of the day, it's just more of a distraction. And last thing, because this just popped into my head, this tweet from Chris Haynes. Draymond was apologetic in the aftermath, but there was a build-up stemming. League sources tell Yahoo Sports. League sources, not Warrior sources, not team sources. League sources said, yeah, Jordan Poole is getting an ego, so this makes sense. We've heard he's getting an ego. How would league sources have heard that? Who could those league sources be? Other GMs, other teams, other trainers, other media, other anything? It's just a lot. It's a lot of hearsay, and it's a lot of speculation. And for an opposing team in the West that maybe rhymes with, like, the Schmeenix puns or something, like, it makes a lot of sense to sow some discord among your chief competitors here. Or even, dare I say, the Los Angeles Lakers. What happens if Draymond Green punches a teammate and we find out that there's been tensions brewing and Draymond's owed a ton of money and the Warriors probably aren't going to give him that money because the choice is pay him when he's, already showing a decline in skill versus keep Jordan Poole, who just helped you win multiple playoff series en route to a title. It makes a lot more sense that the Warriors, trade him somewhere, preferably another place that might have Clutch clients, like maybe Southern California with the LA Lakers. It makes a lot more sense for Clutch's reputation and brand to do that, rather than have him just not get signed and just be sitting there waiting for a contract. Like, that's not a good look for a 4-time NBA champion and one of the best minds in basketball that we've had in this or really any generation. I don't mean to take away from Draymond's abilities and contributions. It's just, it's all this ego battle. It kind of just tilts back and forth. So, moral of the story is, there's a lot of questionable reporting going on around this based just on the lack of facts that we have. So before, cementing any thoughts on either of these players or anything, just give it some time. Let's see what comes out about it. But those things, these types of things are the type of things you can look for with any of these stories. Look to see what the sources are. The sources are never going to be cited. Spoiler alert. On these insider tweets, Woj and Shams and these guys, they're never going to just come right out and say who it was. So that always means take it with a grain of salt, at least when I see it. That's like a big red flag beeping. It's like, yeah, it's probably true, but at the same time, it's going to be really easy for it to get disproven if someone comes out and just definitively shoots it down. So it's all a PR game. It's all back and forth. It's all narratives. It's all trying to get your narrative out there and make sure that you look as good as possible no matter what the issue is. We'll see what sort of things come out. Maybe I'll post this and then tomorrow morning I'll wake up and it'll all be completely revealed and everybody was right and I'll just, look like a jerk. If this video disappears within the next day or so, then that's exactly what happened. I take no shame in admitting that either. I'll take this down immediately. But I think that's it. If you have any thoughts on this or any of the other news that has been coming out through training camp, if you want to cry about the Anthony Davis news like I want to, that's totally fine too. Let it out in the comments section. This is a safe place. I hope everyone's doing well, having a good week. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back.